After seeing some of the speeches that were done at East Hillsborough at your meeting, you have a very different style of speaking in the US to the UK. We're very much more reserved, so we're going to try and do it in a bit more of an American style. So I may wander around at times. Firstly, I'd like to thank you all really, and I'd like to thank you for inviting Chris and myself over at this time for really one of the most important times I believe in United States history. It's an honour and a privilege to be here with friends really from another party, and as we're just literally across the pond. I'd like to tell you today about just a few of the common values that we share with the Labour Party and the Democratic Party, and especially though particularly right now, and the values that we share between the Obama-Biden ticket and the Labour Party as well. And I was trying to think about what the best way was to say that to you. And then I realised that actually in the Labour Party we carry a membership card, and on the back of the membership card it says a few words, and I thought I'd read them to you because I think they'll actually mean quite a lot to you, because they're basically exactly what you're trying to do, or Obama's trying to do, and all your local candidates are trying to do in this race at the moment. So it says that the Labour Party is a democratic socialist party that believes by the strength of our common endeavour we achieve more than we achieve alone. So as to create for each of us the means to realise our true potential, and for all of us in a community in which power, wealth and opportunity are in the hands of many and not the few, where the rights we enjoy reflect the duties we owe, and where we live together freely in a spirit of solidarity, tolerance and respect. And I think that sums up everything I've seen from you guys in the last week, and that basically clause 4 of our party, so that's in our rule book. And I think that's just incredible.
Yes, I like that.
So guys, this is our common value set, and it's actually common around the world, and that's why we're here, that's why we've flown over to help in your campaign for these 2 weeks. I have to thank Susan. I think everyone's thanked Susan so far, something in the season. I have to also thank Susan for getting us in to see Joe Biden last night. And I realised that we also have another commonality as well, that some of your politicians say a bit too much at times. And I think Joe Biden can do that occasionally. I'm going to give you a quick example of this, because we actually have a previous leader of the Labour Party. His name is Neil Kinnock. Now, Neil Kinnock is a Welshman, and Welshmen are quite famous. So I said call me an Englishman, because Welshmen are very verbose and famous for their speaking style. We were in a similar meeting in a room like this, but being English, we were in a pub. So it was in the upstairs of a pub, and Neil was sitting there, and he had a pint of bitter in front of him, so a pint of like lager, but quite a big drink. And I think Neil's very verbose. He uses his hands all the time, and he throws things around. It was very odd, because he as a Labour Party person, he was wearing a really expensive watch. He was wearing a Rolex. But halfway through his speech, half an hour in, he flung his arm out and his watch fell off, but into the pint. Rather than stop, he continued his speech, and his left hand leant down, he continued to speak. He got the watch out of the pint, he dampened it down, and has continued without stopping. So we got a standing round of applause. I thought that actually quite reminded me of something that Joe Biden probably would be able to do. Seriously, I just wanted to say a few words about why this election is so important, and why I know at least 50 people just from the UK that are over here today. And I'll just go off track for 1 second. I do a European job. I'm actually a physician, and I'll talk to you about that in a second. But I was in Berlin 3 weeks ago, and I was walking down the street in Berlin, and there's a sign up that says "Believe." And I look round further down the street, and there's a sign up that says "Change." So in Berlin, on the other side of the world, you've got signs up about your election, and Obama had 100,000 people turn up to a rally. So if there isn't anything else that's reminiscent of what's good about the Democratic Party from your history, you've got it now, and that's why it's so important to decide at the moment. As I said, I'm a physician, and I work in something called the National Health System, where everyone has 100% healthcare coverage. And that's something that I think you guys in the US need to aim for, because if you're going to realise the true potential of everyone in your country, you need a healthcare system that works, and one that lasts, as we say in the Labour Party, from the cradle to the grave, and we created one as a Labour Party in 1948. I think America once again needs to be a beacon of light and hope on the world stage. It needs to be based on an ethical and a moral foreign policy. And you need to take your country back from what's happened over the last years, and as we call them in the UK, from a sort of neo-conservative Republican base. You need to bring that back. And in doing that as well, you need to get the country university to heal to a certain degree, because we're very much seeing that there's divides that are happening. And I think you need an inspirational leader, and I think you've got one at the moment. And as Bill Clinton used to say, you need these agents of change, and I think you've got that at the moment. I think you've got that in Obama, and I think you've got that in Biden. But I also think, having been to your sort of party on Saturday night, you've got that in all your local candidates as well. The speeches were inspirational, I'd say very different, more pub thumping, but it was great, and it was really good to see. Often in the UK, we talk about the 3 a.m. moment. Now, I'm a medic, so we used to do 24-hour shifts in the old days, and your blink used to go off at 3 in the morning. You'd be in bed, you'd been awake for 17 hours. And what was important at that point is when you got up, if somebody was downstairs having a crisis in your emergency room, you had to think quickly, you had to treat them, you had to be sensible, because it was about somebody's life. What I want you to think now is, imagine it's 3 a.m. and something's happened on the world stage, and your leader has to wake up that morning. Now, I will tell you one thing. If that's Obama or Biden, I will be confident. If that's McCain, I will not be confident. And if that's Palin, forget it. I mean, that's really what we think about in the UK about what's happening at the moment. So I just want to end with some words of another very famous American who once said, and you may well recognise his words, "Come senators, congressmen, please heed the call. Don't stand in the doorway, don't block up the hall. For he that gets hurt, will there be he that has stalled, for the times they are a changing."